the situation that that's not the way it's going to be for now, and in the meantime, this is the way we're going to work things out by with the way we're going to work with your studies at home. So your children need to know that they need to be prepared. Just like when I prepared my children for homeschool, it was a lot of talking to them even before I started. So you need them to sort of know and agree with your plans. And if they cannot agree completely, then you will have to help them understand why that is the decision. So what do you need? And then you need to decide on your provider. When I mean by provider, what curriculum are you going to get? Where are you going to enroll your children? How are you going to have the schooling of your children done? So you can do your own research. There are many ways of doing studies at home. So many schools right now, all the regular schools here in Manila and there in Palawan and all over, they've already transformed their curriculum into something that you can be doing at home. So at least, even if they were given a short notice, everybody worked double time. You can't imagine how much work went into this. So many meetings and so many things that, schools went through just in order to, transition that home-based learning for you. But you also have other options. You have options of full, complete homeschooling. There are many providers. There are many sites, where you can check about homeschooling and what kind of education. And you can also do your own curriculum, if you're brave enough. Some people are brave enough, some educator parents do that. They do their own mix. They get this kind of English language, this kind of math, and then they choose their history and everything. They just put it together, and then they make it appropriate for their children. You can make your own curriculum, but that's very brave of you, and I didn't even attempt that. I depended on a curriculum. So whatever it is, you can choose whatever, but choose the one that you feel is most suited for you. And I also strongly suggest that if you are getting confused and you don't know what to do, consult the school where your child last attended. It's very important. Why? Because they know you, they know your child, and they will help you. And they're not just there to tell you, oh, no, you should enroll with us. No, they can help you. They can give you sound advice. And if you give them the situation, your situation at home and everything, they should be able to help you with that. So you can also seek advice from other parents, but remember that your family situation is unique. So all of us have our own unique situation, so we can just tweak whatever it is that we decided to use according to our situation, and then it will not be all that difficult. Okay, so that's the next step. After that, when you have decided on your curriculum, you must plan and organize your home for studies. This is very important. You cannot just start and, oh, we're going to start now studying, Okay, go online. There, your teacher is there. Oh, where's the book? The book is not there. Or where's the reference? It's not there. Prepare everything first beforehand. Do not start without organizing. The worst thing that you could do is to have a disorderly setup at home. Order is very important. I forgot who said it, that there's no progress without order. Order is very important. Order in the mind, order in the surroundings, order in the things that you need to do. There's no progress without order. So put order in everything. You organize your materials. You make sure you have all your materials. You prepare your books, your notebooks, and everything. You assign, what each child will need, and also you buy other things, like art materials or craft materials, because for sure, somewhere along the way, the child will look for something to do. The child will need to play with something, will need to read books that are for entertainment more than for studies, will need to do some arts or crafts or whatever, then have a little bit of what we call the emergency box. The emergency box is where you put all this stuff that they can learn. And then set up a space in the house. Your house doesn't have to be big for for it to have a space. You could just be creative about the space. But so at least all the stuff are in order. All the things are in order. Why? Why do you want to put it in order? Because the children, your children, must be responsible for getting their materials and returning them. It's very important to do that, that they return their things. Otherwise, it's useless. And since you're already there teaching them how to return their stuff at home, if before they used to leave for school and, the maids and the yayas will put order in the house, this time you can make them do that too. That could be part of their schooling, like fix their beds. Fixing your bed is very important. I think all children should fix their beds, you know. Uh, and then, of course, fix your drawers, your cabinets, your clothes, even the clothes that you put in your cabinet, if they can't hold them, For the little ones, you let them sort it, the socks, match them or whatever. That's also a lesson in itself. So everything, you put order in the whole house, even in the cooking or the preparing of the meals, the dishes and everything. You can make your children participate. And all these things are learning. It's just that it's set at home, And then, of course, there's time for the academic learning, which is the one that you will probably do online or the one that you will do independent studies at home, whatever it is that you've chosen, that is it. And then after, and you make your children part of this. You make them help you cover the books, cover their notebooks, write their names, etc., put dates, everything. And then you make rules, make them simple. You have house rules that people will obey. Don't make rules that are impossible to obey and impossible to punish. You say, if you do this, this is the consequence. Oh, it's not that. These are rules because we need rules. And again, why do we need rules? For order, to get organized at home. You cannot be that anytime this is going to be done and everything. There's a schedule in the day. There are rules. They can be a little bit, schedules can be flexible, but there are basic rules. So make basic rules. What are basic rules? Respect each other. Like when you're all studying in one area, that this child cannot be disturbing the other child. You respect her. She's doing her work. Let her do her work. Be quiet. Don't disturb her if you don't not feel like doing your work. So respect each other. That's one simple rule. And also work diligently, Try to keep working, even if you don't feel like working, because sometimes it's difficult to work. It's difficult to work at home. That's why you want the setting of school, because at least in school, you're forced to work. You're in the classroom, your teacher gives you something to do. You're all working together. It helps you work. But if you're at home, it's a little difficult. It's a little difficult to make yourself work. So you make it conducive, you help them. Okay, let's try to do this. You said we were going to work on this at this time. Let's do it. So you help them, So you make them work diligently, and always a rule is always clean up after yourself each time. Everybody pack away everything, everybody clean up everything. So you plan all the schedules according to your family lifestyle. Don't try to bring the school into your house like a bell, at 8:00, and everybody stand up and sing the national anthem. No, that cannot be. That's not gonna work. What's gonna work is have nice breakfast for them, or help them make breakfast, eat a nice breakfast, and talk about nice things, and say, okay, today we're going to be studying, and let's prepare ourselves. Prepare nice breakfast and tell them to get ready a little bit physically. They want to continue working in their pajamas, so be it. So, but for as long as they work. I'm not saying that everybody should wear pajamas all day, but that depends. So you make that schedule with your children, and nothing is really impossible. So now you're all set to start. When you found your curriculum, you make your study schedule, so you're all set. So what do you put in mind when you're all set and you get started with school? Don't worry that you don't know everything. It's natural not to know everything when you start. You learn on the job, just like we did. We learned everything on the job. When your children were born, they were not born with a manual, right? There was no teaching manual for your child. Child number 1 is born, teaching manual. You know what to do with that child. You don't. You learn on the job. You learn by learning about your child. So that's very important. So you don't expect to know everything in the beginning, but you can always make changes. Don't worry if it seems like you're not learning anything. The children are not learning anything, because learning is always happening. And you know what is the top secret in making your children work at home that I think is very effective, is to develop a very good relationship with your children. You have to deepen that relationship with your children. Treat them like your friends. Treat them well, of course, they're an individual, like a person, not a person that you dictate to, that you should be like this, like this, like this, like that. Be a good friend, have a deeper relationship with them. And having a deeper relationship with them doesn't mean, sitting them down. Son, sit down. I want to have a good relationship with you. That's not the way. You do things with them. And as you do things with them, you have that simple conversation in order to deepen your relationship with your children. Be it fixing the hair of your daughter, or packing up something for your son when he needs to go somewhere for sports or something, something like that. So you develop a good relationship with your children. And lastly, I'd like to leave you with 3 main ideas in this entire talk of educating your children at home. Remember, the home is the best environment for learning. Why? Because it is the place where they are loved the most, accepted, they're nurtured, they're allowed to be themselves. They are not going to be shy or anything to speak up or anything. We're always encouraging them to speak their minds, and so there's the best environment for learning. Children also are natural learners. Children always like to learn. They're always curious about everything. So you don't have to worry about they might not like to study or anything, provided they have the materials and they're motivated and they're encouraged, they would love to learn. And that is the idea there. We teach the love for learning. Let's not get focused on the subject and say, you have to get 100 here or you have to get this perfect or everything. Teach them to love it. Love the learning. Love the act of learning, the acquiring of the new knowledge and everything. That's very, very important. And as we were always guided in our homeschool pocket when we started, it was always said there, a parent's heart is a child's classroom. So what is in your heart? What is that thing that you want your children to learn the most? Because you are the classroom of your children, and you can take care of them. And do not be insecure about not being able to take care of their studies at home, because you have all your providers, your schools, the curriculum providers will always help you. Any provider will help you do the school of your children at home. So there's nothing to worry about. They're in good hands because they're in your hands. And with that, thank you.
Thank you very much, Teacher Marlene. That was
Yes.
very enlightening. I learned a few things, no? Especially yung teaching them good character is very important. It really should be the goal of every parent for their kid. And then the school will be there to help them. No? Talagang the parents are the primary educators.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of you might have questions for Teacher Marlene, so kindly write them down or put them in the chat box. So we'll have a short Q&A portion later. Right
Yeah,
now,
later, yeah, after Sita,
yeah.
no?
Right now
Okay.
we'll begin with the second speaker, the founder and director of the Scolaris Learning and Development Center. Uh, she's been a homeschooling parent for how many years already? 10 years. And school director for 6. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ms. Sita Suarez.
Okay. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time out to attend this orientation or an open house. It's actually um, it's actually for the parents of Scolaris, the original intent was for the parents of Suarez. But we decided to open it up because a lot of people have been inquiring, asking for advice, undecided. And then also, we also didn't want anybody to go into something that they weren't sure about. No? So we decided to bring in Marlyn, teacher Marlyn, to sort of explain how it will be like to homeschool at home and the trouble or the work that you have to do homeschooling at home. Kasi right now, everybody doesn't know what to expect. What's going to happen on the first week, on the second week, no? Ganyan. So it's very difficult. So we wanted everyone to be prepared and really make the right decisions, no? And each decision is different for different people, no? So the first question that so sorry. So taking from the last I spring the jumping board a while ago, taken from teacher Marlyn's talk, we decided. I mean, it's very common that homeschool. Sorry, ulit. Nagkaka-echo eh. Sorry. So, homeschooling is not for everyone. So it's not for even two identical of the same family, two members of the same family won't decide to homeschool. And it's also not for the same child all throughout his life because the situations vary per person and per family, you know. So there's health reasons, like we first homeschooled because Elise was sick. And then work reasons. So we also homeschooled because we transitioned from Manila to Palawan in the middle of the school year. And for some, it's temporary. And for some, it's a philosophy. It's a way of life. No? So it really depends on the situation. So we envisioned, so the very first, okay, hold on. Okay, so a very common question that I get asked about is why did the homeschool mom put up a school? So, you know, why are you putting up a school? You're homeschooling. And in the first few years, I was hesitant to carry it over to grade school because I advocated homeschooling because of the benefits. No? So the reason was because our daughter got her preschool education from a progressive school, and we saw the benefits of her development in terms of cognitive and psychomotor and social emotional development. So when we moved to Palawan in the middle of the year, we decided to homeschool them first to ease the transition, and then we looked for the same type of homeschool or the same type of progressive school for our son, but we didn't have it. But you know, it was too late. We put up the school 2014. He was already 7 years old. No, so anyway, so we still really believed in the philosophy of um, progressive education. And the sister of my husband, well, my sister-in-law, si Lisa, she helped me set up our house like a progressive school. So we put learning centers, there's a science center, there's a reading center, there's a kitchen, you know, the iba-ibang center. So the child naturally just goes around and finds something to do, not being idle. So that's what happens in a progressive school, other learning centers. They find things to do. And so when we moved to Palawan, we brought it with us, we applied it to our son, and then so we were very, very convinced that this is the way to go. And we wanted to share it with everybody. We wanted to share the, the concept and the philosophy. And also because Rene and I were members of EduChild and are still are today since 2004. So we had learned a lot of parenting, family visioning, all these things that you don't really learn in a normal college life or high school life or anything unless you really seek it out. No? So we wanted to share that experience also with the families of Palawan. So we conducted focus groups if a school like this would be accepted and supported. And I really want to thank the first 8 students, the first 8 families that believed in the philosophy and shared our vision. And they're with us until today. You know? So it's really nice to see them all being very developed holistically and not just in one area. So yun. So when we put up the school after the focus group discussion, we envisioned something that would put importance on each child and each family's uniqueness. So this is our first logo. No? So it's a house. It has to be homey. It has to be happy. It's sunny. It's like, there's a curved ground underneath for playing, and, so, and has to be very welcoming. So that was our vision. So we really put emphasis on the idea that each child is unique, as Marlyn mentioned. No? So this is very important to us because we need to see each child as different from all his siblings or her siblings, and different from his friends, different from us. Because if we make photocopies of ourselves or photocopies of our children, para ano na, 'di ba? Parang we don't really put importance on the personal gifts that God gave them. So they each have their own interests, their own preference, even in food, in clothing, talents, learning styles. Some are visual, auditory, and the pace and the growth, development pace and the growth patterns are also different. So because each child is unique, each family is also unique. It follows. So different lifestyles, single parents, entrepreneurs, office goers, the culture, the values, the daily routines, kanya-kanya, it's different. So when we put it all together, we came up with a vision that we want to be a child-centered school, meaning kasi there's this misconception pag progressive child-led na bahala siya at her own pace, and then you don't push them, no? That's the general perception. Don't push them to their potential. Kung kaya na niya grade 5 math, grade 3 lang siya, why not, 'di ba? But that's not progressive. Progressive is you find out what they need to know at their age, and then you guide them as soon as they're ready, no? So for example, they're ready for grade 5 math or grade 3, or they give them grade 5 math, but don't force grade 5 math on someone who's not ready for it. Or don't force writing when somebody's not ready to write, or reading when they're not ready to read, diba? But as soon as they get it, just push them, prod them a little bit, konting tulak lang yan. So encourage them and make them feel confident about their level, and make them understand that they're multi-talented in many, many different ways. So that's why progressive is it encompasses all these different facets. That's like the music and movement, the spatial intelligence, language, talents, all these different things. So that's why if you go to Scholaris and you go during school time, it looks like everyone's just playing. They're all moving around, doing things together, talking, playing with one thing. The next, after 10 minutes, they move na naman to another station, because our method is collaborative, participative, experiential. They're doing things in the garden, they're doing things in the wet area, they're planting, they're cooking, and it's integrated. There's a lot of talking, interaction, making sure that everybody's talking, processing what they're experiencing, explaining. So it's not a random parang magulo, ganyan. So it's really, they really learn how to work with each other. So we also integrate virtues and character formation in appropriate ages. For example, from 0 to 7 years old, developmentally, it's the optimum age range to teach obedience and sincerity and order, those three things. And if you miss it at 8 years old, hindi pa sila orderly, it's going to be very difficult to teach them order at 9 years old. In the same way, values like perseverance and patience and responsibility are not taught 0 to 7. They're taught 8 to 12. So if we try to say, tamad-tamad naman itong batang to, 3 years old, di ba? Hindi naman siya tamad. Hindi siya ready for it, no? Ay, nako, di ba? Yung mga ganong comments. So we have to really understand what their brain and their self, their physical self and emotional self are ready for before we even introduce anything. So knowing that, how can we do that now that walang school? No, we can't go to school, and now that everyone's at home, it's actually better if the parent's willing to teach, because everything is there and the nurturing and care of the parent is present. No? So we came up with a home-based learning program. Many schools call it different things, like online, distance modular program, flexible learning program. We're calling it this home-based learning program. So they really learn at home. So this is meant to be a temporary learning program for the COVID situation. It's not meant to continue like this, no? So eventually maybe we'll have a homeschool program, but this one is carefully put together using many different resources that we think that every child can use for their learning, no? So because one child has many different moods, different levels of learning for different subjects, different approaches, no, to different things. So the same way, the home-based learning has different things in it. So there's experiential learning, they do activities. There is there are worksheet activities, there are research activities, talking activities, parang we want them to be able to discuss a lot. That's why it's not all written. It's very important that you have somebody to talk to about what they're learning. And once you talk about it, you remember it. Remember when you try to memorize something, you're talking, but let's not memorize, let's just discuss and understand why things are that way in science, and all these other subjects. So it supports the child's holistic development. There are many things that are going on in the curriculum, no? And it's equipping you with the necessary skills and tools to deliver the Scholaris experience at home. What does it mean? So the child's holistic development. So we need to consider their learning readiness. If we get random things from the internet, some will hit and miss, no? Some will be too easy or too hard, ganon. So we're trying to give you what you'll need, what your child will need at further age. And also, for example, we don't necessarily need to teach them how to read at 3 years old. We teach them pre-writing muna. And if they're okay with that, we go one step higher. Okay, kaya na niya diba? So there's also for pre-writing skills prior to reading skills. So those are for mga 3-year-old kids. But for 7 to 8 years old, we need to teach them na how to note take, read aloud, how to stand in front of the class, diba? So all these other things that are not really paper and pencil. So in terms of equipping parents, we will set monthly learning objectives for you, showing you what they're capable of doing at that age. If your child is advanced, we can set advanced learning objectives as well. If you want her to take her time, we'll set moderate learning objectives, diba? Because you're the parent, you know the child best and you know what their potential is. So we'll work together and set objectives, not just school academic objectives, anything that you feel is very important for you at this point. And then we'll curate resources for you. So we'll try to get the best of what we can see out there. Now we have a lot of documentaries and links and movies and songs and worksheets and all these that have been collected over the years or recommended by educators or by our own parents. Sometimes they see a link, they send it to me, then I put it in my treasure chest of links. And then even homeschooling parents, they're very supportive and they really share resources. So how do we do this? No? So ang laki-laki. So we came out with a parent guide. The parent guide has several components. So it tells you right away the topics, the learning objective of the week. Now, what topic are you going to talk about for the week? What's the learning objective? What are they supposed to understand and explain and realize at the end of the week? What are they supposed to remember at the end of the week? No? So, and then it tells you like new words or new vocabulary, words that they have to understand, and then materials that you need for the week. No? So it tells you that. And then it's broken down into different days. So I can actually share with you a sample. Let me just pull it up. Okay. You have to unshare. No. Yeah, okay. So, so this is the parent guide, no? So it has aims, You see the topics? Ay, bumaba. Like that. And then, we help you how to introduce a concept through an activity. We even tell you where to buy the fish. It's free if it's from the Bureau of Fisheries. You can buy it at a cheap price in this fish store in San Manuel. And then tells you how to what things you can discuss about the sea. So it's multisensory, no? So there's food, you can cook together, you have art, no? So and then if you want to have fun, so you dress up, no? Like ganon. So iba-ibang then we have a lot of links that you can refer to, so you know how to do something. And then evaluation is to check for understanding. So we ask them to talk about it, or dance or something that they like doing. So yun yung mga activities nila. So it's not all really writing. And then they're very simple, easy to understand, no? And have activities that they can do with someone at home. So how do we get a proof of all these things? So we're going to use the CISO class app. It centralizes all the submissions. So you just take a picture of the work. No need to take a picture of the child. Send it to us. Okay na yun. That's fine. And then the teacher can comment on the work. The teacher can send messages. There's even an audio capability that the child can use when they want to ask teacher a question. And so that's the icon of CISO. This is the example of the interface and what the child submitted. No? So it's a chart about classifying sea animals and non-sea animals that the parent worked on with the child. Another child did it in blue cartolina, so na hindi clip art. And then this is what I was talking about, yung reading A to Z. They're award-winning, different levels. You have the option to print them or do it online. And it's updated every 6 months. And then it's also consistent with the US Common Core Standards, which is consistent with the DepEd standards. It has lessons, books, scripts, worksheets, assessments, and different levels. So if you need, you can also print flashcards if your child likes that, or it's a good reference. And then it was ranked as higher than Scholastic in terms of a teacher resource. So this actually surprised me, because to me Scholastic is really good, no? So because we read their books, no? But as a resource for teachers, it's really a good resource, and that's what we're giving this year. So yeah, level books. These are all in the website. They're available in many different languages. And then for science, they have experiments and different content, no, for different levels. And then for math, we're using the MyPals book, workbook and textbook, only for math, because this is a very it's widely used also in many schools in the country and even outside the country. This is only a supplement. So we still have our lessons, but we're going to use this to make sure that everything is supplied for the child's math learning. So we have the parent guide, no? Then we have the online platform, and then we have the math textbooks. These are all supplements. And then we have online classes. Then,
yeah.
Lower.
Where?
Online classes. Hold on. Sorry. Yan. So, okay. The online classes, there's a lot of talk right now about online classes, no? So the therapists don't recommend it because it's not ideal. It's not face-to-face. We have friends who have been trying online classes in other countries that say that ang hirap talaga. The first 2 weeks are fine, but after a while, they don't listen anymore. They just do something else. They just leave. No? So at first you were thinking na, sige, mag-online class tayo. So 9 to 10, ito yung subject, or this is the activity 10 to 11. They have recess together with the teacher and all that. But yun nga, parang experiences of other people are telling us that it's not going to be a good long-term solution. So there's also the concern of some parents na they would like to limit screen time of their children because the children will still play games outside this online class. And then they'll still watch movies. They'll still do other things. And then there's also the cognitive load, additional cognitive load or mental stress that the child and the teacher has when they're doing online class. It causes some sort of strain or fatigue sa eyes, it's hard to communicate, diba? There are no social cues, there's no body language, not clear, but no clear body language, and it's very difficult to really communicate. And also, the most common concern is the short attention span of children. So in school, if we have circle time or meeting time for the small kids, they run around, they're not there with teacher, they can still hear, they can still feel the presence of the teacher and the classmates. Online, they can just hear na lang, di ba? Kasi parang, okay lang naman, they're not really sitting still and watching the screen, but it's really different if, it's really hard past 20 minutes. It's very difficult. So, we will have online classes, but they're going to be interactive activities like show and tell, someone's birthday, or a quiz, a verbal quiz, ganon, or things that they can share with their classmates, like, oh, what did you do last weekend? To practice social skills like language and how to express, for them to remember that there are other children outside, and who are also, they can have friendships. And I was even thinking, we were thinking of making more interactive activities that do not require a screen. Like, we can do a pen pal, pen pal network or something, diba? So, mga ganon. So anyway, so it's really difficult to have this long term. Pero we're having that, two times a week lang, 2 to 3 times a week, and very, very short for the younger children. And then we have also one-on-one time with teacher, for teacher and students to be in sync, and for the teacher to know what's the level of understanding of the lesson. So the assessments will be done this way with the parent, and it will replace short quizzes and exams. It's only 5 to 15 minutes per child. And then we have parent coaching. We'll be heavy on parent coaching, as I said a while ago. Learning objectives, setting learning objectives, and all the domains of the development. And then we'll have regular parent leadership talks and workshops, which we've been doing since 2013, but more aggressively this year. We already had one a month ago, and we're going to do we're going to do it again for the ones who missed it. So we're doing this because we need a venue to discuss and learn from each other, best practices. It's very comforting and encouraging for parents to be able to talk about what they're feeling, or hear someone talk and say, oh, ako din, di lang pala ako yung may problema, no? Or di lang pala ako yung nag-worry, di ba? My child is normal. Ganon yun yung lagi sa mga homeschoolers. Okay, siya din pala, ganon, di ba? So it's comforting. And then we can also provide one-on-one consultation regarding your child's academic, behavioral, or situational challenge. No? So hindi naman life coach, but if you need a life coach, we have 2 ITF certified life coaches that we can refer to you. And then our daily schedule will be up to you. We cannot bring the classroom into our homes, as Marlyn said. No? So our home-based learning program has a fixed online schedule, which is 30 minutes. So that's it. And then your daily schedule will be up to you. So for example, you have some free time in the morning, you can do it then, all the activities there. You can assign the child to do his worksheets after his nap or after lunch. You don't have to set like 9 to 12, aral lang, and then lunch, then after that, bahala na, no? So, but if that works for you, okay lang. But what I'm saying is there's no strict schedule. It will really be up to your schedule, your lifestyle, your availability. So what we've done is that all the things that the child has to do can be broken down into blocks of 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes each. No? So for we block it like 10 minutes, 30 minutes you can do 3 worksheets or maybe 2 worksheets. And then so what you do, you get these blocks of time or these small activities and you insert it during the day. That's an option. No? That's how I do it. That's how many people do it. So, iba on the way to tennis practice, habang naghihintay, gumagawa ng worksheet, may ganon, di ba? Or yung iba, while waiting for the food to cook, if you're doing cooking with your child, waiting for it to boil, you can do something else. Mga ganon. So, it's really, you can really weave it into your day. So, it won't be so stressful. No? So, and then for you, so if the activities are all small bite-sized pieces, you can schedule also blocks of time per day also. If there are 2 activities, you decide, if kunwari, the parent guide says 3 activities for Monday, you don't have to do all 3 on Monday. You can do 2 on Tuesday, 1, di ba? Ganon. So, ang DepEd has a compressed school year. So, we're ending school in April 30, and then they're saying that we should have Saturday classes. So what we're doing, we're giving you Monday to Friday work, and then whatever you don't finish, you can do on Saturday, di ba? Pwede naman ganon. So it's just no stress, because once the parent is stressed, the child is stressed, you know, di ba? And not just the child, the other children and the husband and the wife, everyone's stressed, lahat. So wag na, no more stressing. So that's always been my motto, even here in school. Wala, we take care of things as much as we can for the parents. So for the grade school parents naman, your block of time also is 30 minutes per activity. But you'll notice, as the weeks will pass by, they'll be more independent. Okay, so yung 30 minutes mo, 20 na lang. You can actually, on the 4th week, you can actually pull out your laptop on the side and look na lang, di ba? May mga ganon. But syempre, on the first 2 weeks, you really have to give them a lot of attention and guide them, because this is new, unless you've been already tutoring your child or teaching them. So, and then very important is for the first month or more, they say it takes 6 months to adjust for both parent and child, and then you're okay. Yung 6 months of adjustment, may bribery, may forcing, may tulakan, ganyan. So it depends, diba? So it really depends on the parent, how composed they are and how they understand what's happening. So, okay, this is just an activity. I'm not going to let this ruin our relationship. Parang ganon, diba? So, pero it's really stressful. But we all went through that. I remember Rene coming home, we're all crying, ganon. So, may mga ganong moments, diba? But, you know, yun nga, because we refuse to be flexible. We refuse to, and the parent is also torn. Will I be strict or will I be nice, diba? Papagbigyan ko ba to? And it's really difficult. So, the whole process of teaching your child at home requires a connection, a relationship, no? So, give your child your complete 100% undivided attention for the first 2 weeks, and you'll see that she'll appreciate it. He'll appreciate it. And then there's this blog that a mother of 5 boys started. I think I forwarded that to a few of you. Her problem was that the boys were so difficult to manage daw. They are, no? And then ang benefit naman doon, pag 18 daw, autopilot na sila. Pag girls, pag 18, lalo mo kinukulong, di ba? So yun yung joke doon. Anyway, so this mom said that the best way to let your boys, or I think also girls, no, really to guide them and to make them accept correction and, you know, make them discipline them is you really have to connect first and then correct, no? So, or connect before correcting. So, especially small children, if the only time they see you is when you're doing your worksheet, that's nothing, walang connection. But if you spend time with them doing something they like first, one day, like there's this recommendation na, okay, spend 10 minutes with your son doing anything he likes at a specific time. At 3 o'clock, mom is going to do whatever you like. Even if we dance in the garden, yes, even if we dance, even if we hose each other with water, yes, 10 minutes. So put a timer for 10 minutes. Every day you do whatever he wants. And then the second week daw, first it was silly things, and then later on it was, okay, let's make cookies or whatever. And then later on, Mom, what do you want to do? Ganun na daw. So anyway, so parang once you have that connection and the child feels that the value is more than just getting them through the day, taking a bath and all these chores and studying, ganon, they feel more accepting of your strictness, of your iron fist, di ba? So, pag medyo napagbigyan na sila ng konti, ayan na, so magsa-start na, di ba? So, parang ganon. So, that's one really, really important thing I learned, that you really have to make a connection, a really solid connection before you can even correct anyone. So, I kept it. I've been keeping it very short, just so we have time for questions, no? If you don't want, you can also write it in the chat box if you want. So I hope I gave a clear picture of what the Scholaris or home-based learning program is. And also, I forgot to say, we also customize. For example, you have your child has certain needs, no? So you can do that part of the curriculum. We can do a hybrid. Another thing also is we can also give you more of what works for you and less of what doesn't work for you. So pag matatanong, magkano yung tuition? Flexible. Bakit flexible? Depende. Gusto mo ng more o gusto mo ng less? Or what? Diba? Ano ba gusto mo? Ganyan. So it's very difficult also to announce that. So I just say it personally for those who are really interested. So, yun. Okay. Thank you.
Very much to our two speakers, Teacher Sita and Teacher Marlyn. We'll proceed to our question and answer portion. There's a question here from Mabel. What if the child does not want to do the activity and as a consequence did not learn the objective for the week? I guess Teacher Marlyn or Teacher Sita, you can go.
What if the child does not like to do the activities?
Yeah.
Then you wait a bit. You wait a bit until he can do the activities, because they don't have to do. Because sometimes you have this thing in your head na it's like school, I have to finish it today within this day. No, you can finish it another day. You can help the child do it another day. You can make him do other things first. Wait until I don't. Sita might have her recommendations, diba?
Especially if the child's very young, na talagang hindi pa focused, and the readiness also is not also there yet. For example, like if it's usually the small children, iba-iba yung nauuna nila na gusto nila. So others
Correct.
like to move first before art. The others naman are so focused on art, they don't like to move, ganon. So that's why in school we have a series of different activities so that at least pag uwi nila, the children have one or two things that they like doing. So, and maybe the other thing they didn't like to do, ganon. So if kunyari, you really tried and they don't really want to do that certain activity, you can let us know. So we can either change the activity or give you suggestions of what other things that will meet the same objective. Or baka it also might be the time of day, or maybe normally that time they're playing and then alam nila naglalaro sila, and then that day particularly they're not playing. So
Yeah.
I know one child na who really liked coming to school, and then we changed the schedule to the afternoon kasi scheduling challenges in the school, no? She refused to come to school already. Kasi pala, naglalaro din sila ng lolo sa hapon. She didn't want to miss his lolo time. So I don't know, let her stay home and play with the lolo. That's more valuable than coming to school. And I mean, the lolo is more important, diba? And I'm sure the child is learning more with the lolo. Ganun. Iba-balance nyo lang yung, like, okay, why am I doing this again? Kunyari yung objective is the learning objective can, medyo alam na rin naman niya, or kung hindi niya rin niya alam, we'll try another time, we'll take note. When we set goals with you, we'll take note that ito, hindi pa siya ready for this, let's do it next week or next month, and change activities, ganon. So, that's my answer.
In other words, don't worry.
Was your question answered?
It didn't. You're not on.
So, Mabel, was the answer sufficient? Was she?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else has a question?
I have a question. How many of you are afraid to start?
Yeah.
Raise your
Giselle,
hands. Oh, you're so afraid. Are you hesitant?
what's the hesitation?
It's not really more of afraid, but like maybe just have this thing, yeah, or concern that he won't learn from me, something like that.
Ah, that's very normal because usually um you're the last person your children pay attention to, right? Because usually you can even use that threat. Oh, I'm gonna tell your teacher, huh, if you don't do this or whatever. So you feel that your children are not going to listen to you. But like what Sita said, you have to connect, and like what
Yeah.
I said, you have to develop a relationship with the child first. Play with him. That's all. Actually, just play with him. Give him a bath, or dress him up, or whatever. Just that's it. Just start developing a more and a warm and deeper relationship with your children. That's all.
There's also a way you can also create a short story or a drama when you're hindi naman manipulate, pero parang, di ba? Parang ili-lead mo siya doon sa activity. Di ba? Meron din ganon. So, like, what do I see there? Ganon, di ba? So, parang pupunta na siya doon. And then, parang, or maybe you can refer to a story you read before, and then, let's pretend that, yung kasi mga 3 to 4, puro pretend play yan. They love pretending. When you do storytelling at night, after the story, so it's the same story every night, diba? On the third night, you say, oh, sige, let's pretend. I'm the dog and you're the teddy bear. So, titin mo kung make it a learning experience. Is naintindihan ba niya yung plot, diba? Or if they might change the story, ganon. So, learning experience na rin yun. So, ganon.
I guess that's where the parent guide comes in. No? So with the parent guide, you'll receive the instructions for the week. What are the learning objectives? So definitely, they'll learn something as long as you're able to do the activities, something like that, right? And again, like what Sita said earlier, you can mix it up a bit to keep it interesting. So the important thing is really to connect first to get your child's attention, and then once you have them engaged, that's when you introduce the lessons or the activities.
The challenge
Yes.
kasi is we're all busy. Precious time yung 30 minutes na mawawala, di ba?
And then also, don't forget to enjoy the process. You need to enjoy it. Have fun. There's so much fun because actually eventually you really are. It's fun to be with your children. It's fun to study with them. It's fun to do things with them because you develop that, as I said, that kind of a relationship wherein you do things and it's fun. Sometimes you fight, sometimes you don't, or sometimes you're having fun. It's nice. Enjoy it. Where's where's our
Namatay.
moderator? Oh, there.
Any other questions? Giselle, you had a question earlier. You had some hesitation.
Sign language.
Good question. Thank you.
Thanks.
Or comments. Wala. You're absorbing.
Oh, very good.
If
Ibig
you
sabihin.
have any questions, you can always message and then we'll answer. We'll try to answer it.
Yes,
In
yes.
the page, no? So, yeah.
Usually the question comes when you begin, when you start to do things.
Yeah.
So,
Alright. So, yeah, it's siguro to recap, no, yung,
so is it a wrap?
Ano
can,
pa?
can you recap the, no? There's
Uh,
another question.
well, parang- So I think since the objective is for you to be comfortable in your next decision about your education, the education of your children, the question is, the parang conclusion is you have a lot of options, no? But you think of what you need and what your child needs. If your child you can just leave them and just, answer, iba-iba talaga. Some prefer a more traditional approach, but we're doing this home-based learning program in a holistic way because that's how we feel is the most effective way to be able to grow up properly, di ba? You're whole, di ba? So all the facets of your personality and your person are there, and we make sure that we give you the support for it. So yun, so that's the value, but it's really up to you kasi you can also do that on your own, di ba? And research and do other things. So you can really give your child what he needs and what your family is comfortable with doing for the next 10 months. So, yun. But sana mawala na tong pandemic because I really want
Talaga.
everybody. So,
It's more challenging, no, than homeschooling before.
Yeah.
At least in homeschool, you can still go out for pasyal or anything, But
Field
now, talagang
trips, kaya,
you're like really, so I can imagine really all your fears. But believe me, crisis is always always an opportunity for learning. Always, yan. And the more difficult the problem is, the bigger the reward.
Yeah. And also the biggest benefit, right? The biggest benefit we were discussing it before is you become the friend of your child becomes your friend when they grow up. I mean, you become close and they'll take care of you, diba? So
yeah, you won't know that until they're adults, eh? Because during their schooling years, you're always thinking, "Oh, I'm failing, I'm failing, I'm failing, I'm failing," So when they grow up to be adults, you realize, "Oh my gosh, they really are my good friends," and they are, And that's the time you become so grateful. Oh, so that was it, You won't see it
tapos
now.
na. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, so I'm getting all these messages. Thank you, Vera. So, I guess wala masyadong tanong.
So, we are here. Don't worry. Sita and I are here.
Yeah. Sige. Okay.
Okay, so with that, I guess we can
Very
end the
prompt.
session. Thank you very much to everyone for taking the time to attend this seminar. Look forward to having you again for the future seminars that Scholaris will organize throughout the school year. Teacher Marlene, thank you very much for sharing your valuable insights and experience with us, with all the homeschooling parents and the Scholaris parents with us today. Again, thank you and good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Say goodbye, song.
Bye, Ripley. Bye, Ripley.
Pretty people. Oh, nice to see
Matthew.
all of
Oh,
you.
Marlyn, bye-bye.
Oh,
Ay, na, Marnie.
Sana nandyan ako.
Oo nga. Wala. Ganito na lang. As soon as the lockdown is lifted, you're
I
coming
promise.
here. Yeah.
Yes, my first flight is Palawan.